Okay, let's talk about strategy when trying to put in an offer for a house. So most of the time we all think about is price. So we try to put price into the act. So and people sit here and wonder, hey, I put 20, 30K over the asking price, but I still lost to somebody that's lower than me, or somebody that had the same exact price, but I still lost. Why is that? So here are some things when writing up a contract that your agent should guide you, or something to think about when putting in an offer. One is, yes, price. The more higher the price is, the more likely it is to you to get the offer. Two, two is terms. So the terms is like, can you close in 30 days? A lot of times in this market right now, home buyers, especially if they're not living in the property, likes to close their property quickly. So if you're able to close a house in 30 days, that is actually a great thing for the buyer, because for the seller, because they are thinking, okay, I could get my money. I get my money. I can start my life in my new place quickly as possible, and I haven't needed to sit here for another 2-3 months, whatnot. This is perfect for me. Number three could be inspections, limiting inspections, meaning that you're not going to have a full inspection and you're not waiving anything. So you're basically giving the seller a kind of mindset, especially if the house needs some TLC, but it's structurally sound, that you're going to be nitpicking on paint, on if there's no extra bathroom in this place, if there's no, the cabinets are a little outdated, stuff like that. If you're going to nitpick on little things like that, a tile and the floor might be a little off, they might be less intrigued to choose yours than someone who's going to just limit it to structural, meaning if the house is okay, doesn't really care about the inside if it needs paint or not. But if the house falling apart, is the roof leaking, is there the mechanicals, meaning that the boiler, hot water, is that even just working? We just want to know it's working. You don't care if it's old, we just want to know it's working. So that's another thing to think about. Try not, in this market right now, especially here in Jersey. Jersey is like one of the highest places that houses are going ridiculously over asking price. So you got to be very competitive in this market, and thinking about limiting inspections, especially if the house is sound, like meaning is really good. It just needs a little bit of love, a little bit of paint. Let's try not to nitpick. Let's go for limiting some type of inspections, meaning like that. Limit it to just structural, mechanical, safety. Safety is like mold or environmental mold in there. If there's termite damage, things like that. Depending on the year in the house, if it's like less than 2000s or whatnot, always do an oil tank sweep. Even if the house is in the early like 21st century built or whatnot, I always do an oil tank sweep, meaning that somebody would go outside and check the grounds with a magnet to see if there's any oil tank underground, because that could be a whole big issue. We could definitely talk about that in another video, but always do an oil tank sweep. For me, it's $250 to give you peace of mind after. Number four or five, one of them, there's a gap. There's like a coverage gap. So say that a house, say you're doing numbers, say your agent's doing numbers for a house, and we see that value of the house is listing price is 500, and the value of the house is around 500 to 520. But you know it's very competitive. There's a lot of offers, and you really want the house. So you're trying to put like 550, 560, 570. You're trying to put a lot. We all know the house ain't gonna appraise for that much. You're putting more than what the house is appraised for. So you're basically telling the seller that I'm willing to pay the difference. Now, a lot of times you want to put a coverage, because if you put a house that is not going to appraise, the seller might, even though you put a lot of money down, the seller might not pick you. Because if I was selling your house, if I was selling a house, or if I was selling your house, I would tell the seller, okay, they have a lot of money, but they don't have a gap to cover, meaning that when I mean gap, it's like you're willing to cover the difference of what it doesn't appraise for. So say you put 550 and the house only appraised for 520, you're going to pay like maybe 10K, 20K, or the whole 30K to cover it out of your pocket. So I would say to the seller that they don't have any, because you're not willing to cover the gaps. That means that if it doesn't appraise, we're going to have a big issue. My seller is either going to have to bring the price down to the house to match or sell, or you're going to have to come up with a difference, which if you're going to be paying that much, most of the time, I don't know if you're going to be having the cash or you're just trying to finance everything. Because if you're trying to finance, you're not going to be able to pay the cash up front or cover any type of difference. So make sure that's something to think about. If you're going to put a big over asking, try to do an appraisal gap. Appraisal gap really helps, makes your contract look a lot more stronger, because the seller knows, or me, say I'm selling someone's house and your agent comes to me with a contract, at least I know you're willing to cover at least some of the difference. So if it doesn't appraise, I could be like, all right, look, they're willing to cover 20, 30, 40K, or maybe the whole thing. The whole thing is always better, but if you could cover just the difference out of pocket, that's great. So that's some of the terms that you could do to when move. There's a lot more terms and conditions, like closing. Instead of just closing, you're willing to go out of attorney review in less than 3 days, 4 days. Like that helps the seller too, because it knows you're very serious. Another thing you could do is put a big deposit down. So if you're willing to put like 20% down up front for the house, at least they're showing the seller like, look, they're very serious of this house. They're very, very serious. Like they're willing to not sacrifice, I can't say, but they're willing to put all this money up front because they're really serious about this house. It makes it look good than somebody who's putting like 5%, 3% down. It's not that intriguing as somebody who's willing to put 20%. I know there's loans out there that makes you put 3.5%, but you're very competitive in this market. So if you're going to put 3.5%, make sure the price is higher, and make sure that everything is being, you have all these terms and conditions besides all these other stuff. Like make sure you have the terms and conditions right, because in this market right now, 3.5% might not be a 20%. Just something to think about. But yeah, if you want more information, want to sit down one-on-one and talk about like how we could really structure a deal for you for this house. If you're someone that keeps losing, maybe the deal ain't strong enough. Maybe the information ain't put in front of you. If you want that information to talk about deals and stuff, there's a link in my Instagram. Go to my calendar invite, get a one-on-one 30-minute Zoom call with me. We schedule it. We can sit down, talk about it, really talk about how to really structure a contract and hopefully get that house for you and get that deal sold and stop losing in this competitive market. So if you want to, and please give me a follow me for more, follow my Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and you can actually get more information just like this to help you in this process of when it comes to buying and trying to be competitive in this market. This is your Eddie, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Peace.